both of them.
For both of them.
Just waiting for the clock here. Pretty soon it'll be 6:30 in Readfield, Maine, and we can get started. Oh, it's sunset. Don't forget the partial lunar eclipse tomorrow night.
Tell them all the parks on the side of the road.
9:45 to 10:20-ish. Be a nice little piece carved out of it.
I'm not awake at that time.
No. Congratulations.
Well, I'm not awake at 4, so I guess we're even. I'm usually
Yeah, no, I mean,
not
unless
awake
it
at 8
affects the road.
either in the morning. It is 6:30 in Readfield, Maine. I'll call this select board meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It is the pleasure of the board together. We're going to take several things out of order tonight. If there are no objections, I'll proceed that way.
Please do.
So first, because of a scheduling commitment, we're going to take item out of communications, the age-friendly grant application as our first item of business tonight. Elaine, take it away.
Okay. Can you see me?
We can. On the camera, you look
I should have
tall.
a little
Oh yeah, you're
soapbox.
looking at yourself.
First of all, thank you for kind of messing up the schedule, but I have to be on a 7 o'clock Zoom, so this was not the only way I could be here. So I'm sure we all remember the traumatic events of last December's storm that left many people without power and cell phone service for an extended period of time. So after that experience, the Age Friendly Committee really started to have some serious discussions about how we could possibly support our most vulnerable residents, even if it's just in some small way. The timing was very fortuitous because we went to the statewide conference, the Lifelong Conference that's run out of Orono. And it was announced at that time that Governor Mills was very interested in dedicating money for many of just these purposes under the umbrella called the Community Connections Program. Which is a project from the Governor's Cabinet on Aging in collaboration with the University of Maine Center on Aging and Maine's 5 area agencies on aging. So the goal of these monies was to provide supports that will allow Maine's lifelong communities to further local age-friendly goals. And I won't go into all the other ones, but they announced a Community Connections mini grant that could be as much as $10,000 that would impact our support in the community. And these funds aim to help age-friendly groups to launch new programs, pilot programs, to expand the scope and really try to reach out to those who might really benefit from it. So over the next couple of months, we did a lot of brainstorming. We created a little bit of a short survey, and we got at least 30 respondents to that. Because as you know, we put up a table at all of the elections now. So that's a wonderful way that we get to interface with people. And we were getting a lot of positive feedback. We were also doing our homework, going to other conferences, workshops to see what other communities were doing regarding resilience, okay? That's what many communities were calling creating resilience kits and also providing a lot of information in terms of workshops and things like that. So we decided that we could certainly go for it as well. And so over the summer months, we started to work on putting together the application for this mini grant. And basically, we are referring to our project as a pilot project to see if we can support people to stay safe at home during these types of storms. So the project is really twofold. Following along in the footsteps of what other communities are doing, we'd like to create 25 resilience kits. And these kits would provide, basic necessities to help somebody stay at home for 3 days. So in addition to what goes into a backpack kit, which would be things like radios, chargers, things like that, flashlights, even small fire extinguishers. That would be one piece of the puzzle. And then the other piece would also be to look forward in terms of purchasing some big ticket items. And we were encouraged actually to look not only for just winter resilience, but summer resilience as well. So we did add to our list of our wish list some air conditioners, small air conditioners that our handy helpers could possibly put in windows, and even a few small generators. So we are at the point now that the application process has opened up this weekend, and with your blessings, I would like to be able to submit our application for it. The timeline would be that we would find out in November 15th.
Can you just move over to the mic? Thank you.
Our application actually goes for the max. When we added up all of the various components, the supplies and everything, it comes up to almost $10,000 on the nose. I have had brief discussions with Patricia O, who kind of oversees this whole project, and she's given me some really positive feedback. So hopefully we have a really good shot at implementing this. Now, more than just purchasing supplies for distribution, a lot of this also is going to involve workshops for the public that go beyond just these packets. In other words, how to prepare for the winter. Let's be proactive. What should you have in your house? What type of documentation should you have handy? Should you have to leave in a hurry? But right now, our little pilot project is hoping that we could keep people in their homes by supporting them for about 3 days. So that's where we're at.
Well, that was very thorough. Thank you.
All right.
Does anyone have any questions?
All righty.
So, do we need a motion, Eric?
Yeah, so
We need a motion to
there's
allow
there's
them
no
to.
financial impact to the town, most likely, but it would be good to have that motion.
I'll make a motion to support the grant application as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it, Elaine.
Enjoy your 7 o'clock Zoom meeting.
The next item I'd like to take out of order, if my mouse decides to work here, is an appointment to the rec board, item 25-017. Consider the appointment of Ellen Turgeon to the rec board. Is this your first appointment?
Yes.
So we're going to ask you if you would go over to the podium, please. And just tell us your name and address and maybe a little bit about why you want to be on the rec board.
My name is Ellen Turgeon. I live 91 North Plain Road in Readfield. I got to sit on the board and listen to a conversation at one point earlier this year, get to hear a little bit about what they've been doing. And got me kind of excited towards, you know, what the rec committee does for the town, the programs they provide, the, all the different opportunities that way. And I feel that I've got some skills that would be beneficial to that. And I think the folks are doing a great job and keep it going.
Sounds good. I noticed in reading your application that you're a nurse
Yes,
and that you have taught swim lessons and lifeguarded.
yes.
Eric, this sounds like a perfect person to see if we could coerce to do swim lessons or use connections to
Yeah.
find us someone who could do that. It's something we're looking for in town. It sounds like you have a lot of things you can bring to town, and we appreciate you volunteering to do this.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I would like to make a motion to approve Alan's appointment to the rec committee for a term of 9/19/24 through 6/30/2026.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Although, any further discussion? All those in favor? It is unanimous. And you don't have to stay. It's okay if you leave and go have dinner and be with your family.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay,
Crushing it.
let's see. We're looking for 7
Crushing it.
o'clock. What
I
is?
think we have everybody here that would be presenting for main options, as well as a couple members of the public.
Okay,
So,
and Chip, are you here for an item?
Yeah, one more we could defer to, if this is the time, it's the time.
What is the item?
Sure.
were you asking for more time, Chip, or
It's
is
around 7.
is someone else coming?
Sure, yeah, it was gonna be, we're gonna have tabs.
Oh, sure. Well, then we can.
Oh,
we
is
can
this
do-
all, are you here for the main options
It's all for main
also?
options, yeah.
Oh,
that's
all right. So do we want to take Lee out of order and do
Yeah,
the
let's take,
bylaws
that
now?
sounds great, yeah.
If we're doing this, we might, we know, you're important, Lee.
Let's mess this agenda all up. Come on, Lee.
So this is new business item 25-021, consider revised fire department bylaws and application. I'll just start off by saying that I know Jaren and I read it word for word all the way through and submitted some changes today. So 2 of us at least are very familiar with this. Lee, you want to tell us why we're looking at this, please?
Just the town attorney looked at it and made some suggestions, and all the changes were based off from the town attorney's recommendations to clarify we're volunteers. Yeah, a little bit. I think you had a little bit more insight into it.
Yeah, I mean, so most of the changes do relate to employment law, and the state affords us the ability to have a bit of a gray area between, a full vested employee and then someone who's volunteering and paid a small amount for their services. And the reason that we have that benefit is because the state of Maine recognizes how hard it is to get volunteer firefighters and the need in some cases to pay them, but also the burden that can come along with adding 25 or 30 employees to your town rosters. So while they may have certain employee benefits, they're not truly employees, and they're certainly not vested employees. And so these changes that we're looking at help clarify some of that language around employment law, but also I think help with procedural items, some of the things that the fire department does in their own internal housekeeping. Because I don't manage fire department employees. That's really Lee's job, and so they are a little bit separated from the town and operate differently than any other department in the town, in that Lee has authorities that nobody else in the town does. So we want to respect those and also maintain a good working relationship. So those procedural items, there are a few changes in there that just relate to how they bring members on, and the application itself. I think that's one of the areas that we've seen the biggest improvement, in my opinion, because it makes it very clear what the procedure is and how the follow-up happens from appointments and things like that. So I think it's a wholly beneficial set of changes. Lee, I think, hopefully agrees with that.
I do. We've been working on it for probably since February, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been several months. So
No. Sean just wanted to know if this was the first time we have done this,
No,
and
I
it's
feel
not.
like it's not. Lisa.
No,
Yeah, every
uh,
3 to 5 years. do
Yeah,
an
we,
update.
we try it, we go through them and try to update them and bring them to you to ratify.
So I had one question. Are we at that point?
Sure.
Great. So, I had a
No one
question.
else is talking, so why not?
So under the committees section, and I might have even asked this the last time, and not that I don't think the fire department's already involved in this, but I didn't know if there was something under the committees section. You know, you talk about being, promoting membership and talking, I just didn't know if we could wrap in somewhere there in that sentence about, an engagement with other committees in town, you know, because I know you do events with other committees, I know you help them with different projects or different stuff, but I didn't know if we could just identify that as a task in here as well.
There is something mentioned in there about performing ceremonial duties for the town of
Community
Readfield.
events, stuff
Community
like
events.
that.
Is that what,
Yep.
what section is that?
Where is that? I saw it. Page 46 of the packet, section 7 committees.
Page 46. Wow. You're on this, Sharon. That's
Section
awesome.
7?
Section 7 committees.
Committee shall be appointed by the fire chief officers.
And there's
Ad
a
hoc.
typo there. Eric, the first paragraph needs to have a 1.
Has a one.
Yeah, there's a 2, 3, 4, but there's not a 1.
Gotcha.
How did we miss that
Well, and
earlier?
I
I
found
don't
one
know.
that you guys didn't find. too,
That's my
so,
fault.
All
I
right,
didn't catch
see,
it.
many eyes.
We can correct that. I'll make a note to correct the number.
So where is the part about the community in there? It's under section which?
It should be
It says
1.
proper,
Advertising. Good.
All members of the Readfield Fire Department shall be responsible for promoting membership, including proper
Ah.
advertising, good communication with other members, and continually searching for good potential firefighters.
right, I wanted to add,
Then I think if you look in our mission statement, I think
okay,
right at the beginning, probably says.
page
community
29 or something,
involvement.
yeah.
I remember reading it today,
I know, I did too.
and it wasn't under the uniform section either, but that's good. I thought it was very thorough. I appreciated all of the, I always like to see things consistent throughout, so all the acronyms are the same, either
I
spelled out or
appreciate that.
not spelled out, and that's great. And I truly enjoyed the word shall and must as opposed to may, because then it's very clear to people that this is a responsibility and it's not negotiable. And I think that's really important for people to understand, especially in the kind of work that you folks do, so. With the addition of the 1 on the page as so noted, are there any other questions? There was also an application, which was the second part of this. Is that a whole new application, or was that one you had and it's just been revised?
It's been revised, some of the wording on it, because we had like a probationary period, and the attorney suggested eliminate that. Just put some minor changes on start date. And whether the application was received.
It's a huge time commitment. I had no idea how hard all of you work and the hours that you put in based on that application. It's very impressive.
I just want to check that under the ban the box, if we can have the have you been convicted of a crime on this application.
Say the what?
Ban the box legislation on asking if someone has a legal history or criminal history. I don't think we can ask that on the application.
Okay. Yeah, we'll remove that if that's needed.
Really? You can't ask that?
I'll ask the attorney though, and make sure we get a confirmation on that.
So let's see, this is going to be signed by, do we need to sign this or just approve these?
Just approving it. So because basically it's a fire department internal document that under state law gets approved by the the
Select board.
select board. But it's really their bylaws.
So we had 3 items, adding the number 1 and was it just 2?
It was just to the
And
question
the
about the crime
Question about criminal activity in the past.
You can ask it in an interview. You can talk about it. You can't have it on your application.
Gotcha.
The attorney might have missed that when she went through it. 'Cause
I did
That
not know
went
that.
also to the town attorney.
I gotta charge more money.
200 an hour, go for
We
it.
pay you, just so you know.
Oh, yeah, big money.
I would take a motion to approve if that is the will of the board.
Make a motion to approve the new bylaws as written with the 2 exceptions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just clarification that the bylaws and the application.
In the application.
That's all right with your second?
Sure.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second that. A second.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Great job, Lee. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Eric and the town attorney.
Thank you for going through and seeing all the typos. Appreciate it.
All the
You
time.
stare at stuff so long, you just get used to it. So
That's
it's good to have extra eyes on it.
Well, and then Eric found ones that both of us missed, so.
There's a lot of stuff in those. They
Yeah.
keep getting bigger.
Hey, you did pretty well if Jaren and Catherine and Eric only found those couple, let me tell you. Okay. Catherine usually can scrounge up at least 3 or 4 in a set of minutes.
Well, this is our second draft, so.
Okay.
And Lee, you're welcome to stay or,
I think I'm here for a little bit longer.
okay.
Am I here?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be part of the main options discussion.
So it looks like we do not have the person from Kents Hill online yet, or do we? Is that what the J is?
That's me, that's Jared.
Oh, that's Jared. Okay.
I'm-
Well, if you actually had your name, I would know that. Is
minutes-
everyone here from the options?
Why
That
don't we do
wanted to
that?
be here?
Let's do that.
So do we want to take that now and then we'll go back to our normal regularly scheduled meeting?
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so I don't know
What
who
page we
wants.
going to now?
So this is item, I'll get to it. Under new business, item 25-020. We're going to hear a presentation from Main Options and consider municipal engagement with the program. And I don't know who wants to get up and be the star speaker.
So, and I'll just introduce this quickly and say that I became aware of this through the managers conference. Main Options essentially is a harm prevention program. It was pretty impressive to see the work that they've done in other communities. And we, have had impacts here in our own community. I've had people in the office that I've spoken with and met with that have died from drug overdoses. And that's an impactful thing. So I really wanted to make sure that we started to take a look at this more carefully because it is something that doesn't always get talked about, but is important to talk about. So.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
The reason that we use the podium is because we, do we still broadcast live?
We do. We have a few. We go out on cable. We also have the video recording.
Yeah.
So
We have like 6 people who
Tons of
might,
viewers.
who might be watching live, but we do record this and it's posted on our YouTube channel. And so they can't hear on the recording unless someone's near the microphone.
Okay, fair enough. So my name is Dawn Kearns, and this is my colleague Ashley Kimball, who's also an options liaison for Kennebec County. Options stands for Overdose Prevention Through Intensive Outreach, Naloxone, and Safety. The idea of it came to be out of Janet Mills's first term in office when she formed an opioid task force and appointed Gordon Smith as the head of that task force. And collectively, they came up with a larger plan to address the overwhelming number of overdose deaths in the state of Maine. At that point, I think the state of Maine was number 8 in the country as far as overdose per capita. So everybody, I'm sure, will agree that's an alarming number.
So the idea was to embed a clinician with every police department or every police department in every county. As the program began, there was one of us. Ashley started last week, so our program has expanded
By 100%?
by 100%. That's right. Some counties have more than others, and we now have 2 liaisons and we have peer recovery specialists that we use. But the idea is to respond in real time. So overdose in the community that police and EMS are responding to, we try to, as best we can, go to them or follow up within 24 hours after something like that happens. It's not exclusive to opioids, though that is the reason that this came to be talked about in the first place. One of the biggest pieces of what we do is harm reduction, as Eric had mentioned a moment ago. So harm reduction measures that cover pretty much anything. Naloxone is a big piece of that. So we do education within the community, help communities become recovery ready so that everybody, there is no wrong door is the idea. If you go to the town office, there's not just a poster on the wall. The community knows that this is something that is readily available and able to be shared. So the goal would be not just saturating the community with Narcan, but teaching people what it means and how to use it. We don't just pass out Narcan. We do other harm reduction measures, fentanyl test strips, xylazine test strips. The goal is to get everyone in treatment. And when somebody asks me what I do for a living, I tell them I do my best to keep somebody alive till they're ready for treatment and then connect them with treatment once they're at that place. So we operate on the premise that you can't treat dead people, and the goal therefore is to keep people alive. I would love to set up something within the Readfield community to teach the select board as well as the community at large to use Narcan and to have it available to anyone who's willing to have it on hand. I can talk for 2 hours about options. I'm not gonna do that. That's the gist of what we do. And if you have questions, I feel like it'd probably be time better spent just kind of filling in the blanks as you see them. Questions? No.
So you mentioned something about it's not just seeing a poster when you come in the town office. So is it that we're trying to create safe places for people to come? Or is it that we're trying to create places where people can pick up naloxone? Is that what it's called?
Yes, naloxone, Narcan. Narcan is
Narcan.
the name brand of
Yep.
naloxone.
Okay.
We have to start somewhere. And the
Right.
goal would be to start the conversation. That's where we're going to start that. What your community needs to be determined by your community, not by Augusta, not by any other piece of Kennebec County. But Readfield is a community unto itself and needs to determine where that begins. What I like to do is go and talk with police departments where they're available. We work with the fire departments all over Kennebec County with training as well as a referral system. Some of them, the volunteers, I'm not sure how the opt-in, I don't know if your department has been offered that opt-in. So it's definitely worth a discussion. There is a free supply of Narcan. You can go now and buy Narcan over the counter. It's $40, or you can bring it to the pharmacy and have your insurance cover some portion of that. If you go through options, the state has this supply, so it can be through the options program provided to the community. It's definitely worth having on hand. But to answer your question in a way longer way than you asked.
Oh, no, that's fine.
it is really dependent on what you feel the community is ready for. If it is just a poster, it's more than was there yesterday, so to be determined.
So I guess there's an awareness that we're looking to create, so that people would know that we're sort of a friendly community to trying to help people deal with the problem. And, you know, recognizing that there's no stigma to it, that the point is to keep someone alive until they get to a place in their life where they can say, okay, I need help.
Absolutely, and stigma is the biggest piece of this. Up until the last few years, how people managed to get to recovery was kind of the dirty little secret. It's not something that was readily discussed, and now it is something that we accept on a larger scale than we ever have, and embrace the process. It's not, once you're done, come and talk to us. It's, how do we get you there? So that the hope is that every community embraces that notion that we're all a community, and that's measured, I guess, by how we treat the most vulnerable within the population.
So it sounds like the first thing you were just talking with Chief Mank about is we probably ought to have some conversation with the fire department and have a supply, because they're the people who often are called when there's a crisis. And if we can take advantage of a low or no cost option for the drug from the state, that sounds like a good idea. Always in favor of things that are already being paid for by someone else.
Well, the thing that I was referring to when I asked is they just recently rolled out a program through Maine EMS that they have an opt-in. So when they respond to an overdose or a substance related call, their system would red flag the situation and offer a referral if that's something that the police department or the EMS department opted into. So what I was asking him is if they had been offered this program, because supposedly it's now available to the whole state. And we do get pretty good response from the bigger departments, but the volunteer departments, I don't even know how that's managed. So that was my question to him. Is
Usually once they don't get called.
Lee?
oh, sorry.
You knew.
We'll have a group thing.
Usually Winthrop EMS comes, because we're not first
Okay.
responders or rescue, that's why it's never been offered. So I don't know if you guys are working with
with
Winthrop
Winthrop. Yeah, I
EMS
do
or not.
believe.
Yeah,
We've just never received, and one of the criteria for getting a referral is the refusal to go to an emergency department. So most of the departments that are referring to us, I think that the idea is if you're going to the emergency department, you're getting offered a resource. If you're not going, then here's this other thing available to you. So there's a lot that fall through the cracks with that strategy.
like if law enforcement goes, do they contact you?
I guess it depends on which law enforcement we're talking about.
Kennebec County Sheriff's, Maine State Police.
So I work closely with the Kennebec County Sheriff, but mostly in the jail. Their patrol does not, or has yet to refer to us. The state police does refer.
So that might be something to work with Ken Mason with. Over here.
Yeah. Well, especially if there is some part of the community that wants to be served by options. You are represented by the state police and the sheriff's department, so it's worth a conversation. More pressure on the top usually gets things done faster than none at all, so just saying.
Chip, as our, I don't know your title, our
Yes, we're ready.
our
Health
medical,
officer, yeah.
our medical officer, do you have anything you'd like to add or ask? At the
Well-
podium, of course.
Should I remain just in case?
Yes.
Before talking, or right now?
Right now,
Right now? You done?
No,
She can-
we're talking about
Talking about what?
How about if I sit here and if you need me? I'll
All
come
right.
back.
I'm confused, nothing new. I was asked here tonight by Eric to wear one of my hats differently. I was working as code officer and doing some inspection as septic inspector, and I'm also the local health official. So
That's it.
we were talking about code stuff, and he said, hey, change hats right now. And he asked me to invite somebody here to give you a gut wrench description of what they've been through in their family. So I will present. Lori Choate's here tonight. She's had some really tough experiences, some ones that we wouldn't want to have, but she has a lot of insight into the community and other things. So she was asked by Eric to come here, and she came. Thank you, Lori. She asked me to speak for her. This is nothing new. Lori lost her son, Dustin, a few years back. And at his memorial service, I spoke for her, and I would never say no to her. She's a wonderful person and has gone through some really tough stuff. Understand, I'm here to speak as a local health official. I'm here to speak as a citizen representing somebody that's been through a lot. As you know, I serve Lee, I serve Eric. I want that put aside. I don't want to get political. I don't want to take a side. I just want to deliver a message that I'm so happy that Lori was willing to do. Hope you can get something out of this too. So, try not to editorialize. Hello, my name is Lori Choate. As most of you know, my husband and I lost our youngest son, Dustin, in an overdose 3 years ago. It was and still is the hardest thing we have had to live through in our lives. Dustin was not revived with Narcan. He was alone when it happened. He didn't stand a chance. A lot of people in town knew Dustin. He was kind, generous, and a helpful person. And I'll put exclamation points next to that. He helped his neighbors, friends, and even strangers. He had a heart of gold. He would have done anything for anyone. He was brave, adventurous, and carefree, and he was so sweet. Dustin was also an addict. When he was in active addiction, he hated it. He fought it so hard to stay sober, but there were relapses. And when he had his final one, no one was there to give him Narcan. He died alone. He had been with somebody that had Narcan or called first responder that had Narcan. He might still be alive. Lori believes the public servants should carry Narcan. She knows how and know how to use it. It is vital for them to have it with them and could save a life. There should be places in town where a family member or an addict can pick up Narcan at no cost. This could be easily distributed from schools, town hall, or other places. And I find, I'll editorialize here, I don't know where we'd put it, so it was available 24/7. That's something that you have to think about. Maybe Kent's Hill, that's open 24/7, but that's tough. Not everyone has a vehicle or even a ride to a pharmacy. So this seems to me to be a solution, this would be a solution to have in town for them. Now, big letters. It is very important people understand addiction and not close their eyes and say, this couldn't happen to me. My child would never. We have more addicts in this community than anyone realizes. We've had 2 overdose deaths on Sturtevant Hill in the last 6 weeks. There were 4 deaths in 6 days in our community a while ago. This includes Readfield, Manchester, Wayne, and Mount Vernon, and many, many more we don't even hear about or read about. We have become aware that Narcan is needed, but we can't stop there. We have to have a treatment for this disease. We need to become aware that detox centers are vital. An emergency room cannot be responsible for taking care of our addicts. They are not trained for this. They don't have time for this. A staffed and trained detox center is the first step. A long recovery program is the next step. And finally, sober living community. A drug addiction is a hard road to battle. Addiction is a disease impacting the function of the brain. The part of the brain that causes the addiction is called the mesolimbic dopamine pathway. It is sometimes called the reward circuit of the brain. Well-supported scientific evidence shows that disruptions in this area of brain are particularly important, the onset and development and maintenance of substance abuse disorders. the basal ganglia, extended amyloid ganglia, prefrontal cortex. So when people say it's a choice, it's not true. Once addictions start, it is near impossible to stop it without help. It's a long road, a long fight for an addict to get to the levels of the brain back to relatively normal balance. Very few can do it without help, very few. The drugs are creeping further and further into our state every day. More people than not know or have an addict in their families. They say overdose death rates are down a bit as the first year. My guess, that would be because of Narcan. You can look at the statistics. They are not even close because the amount of overdoses are never reported because of Narcan being available is huge. Until we all become aware of the problem in our area and our state and reach out to those that need help, nothing is going to improve. But while we wait for that, we can make sure that Narcan is available and mandatory. Not only mandatory, mandatory for all public servants, not only mandatory to have them, but the correct way to use it. Let me close by saying I did editorialize. I believe your previous speaker, Lee, got you the importance of how much they work and how things are done there. And I'll repeat what he said. As a volunteer, I'm not trained on this. We depend on Winthrop. We depend upon them. We're not like Wayne that sends them on all the emergency calls. I think that working with Winthrop and people that are here 24/7 that volunteer, I think that's most important. But thank you, Lori, for those words, and I'll defer back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori, for sharing.
Yeah.
Very sorry.
So I'd like to take sides. I can editorialize, I think. And I think that we should do anything we can, bottom line. Options sounds like I don't know a lot about it yet, just from what I read, but it seems like a reasonable place to start. But the bottom line is that Lori's point is really, really good. And that is that you don't know, you can't say, oh, well, as long as with the BMS has it, we're all good, because we were not, because, so often you're just not going to know when you're going to be in a situation where maybe Narcan will help, but it goes beyond just providing training for Narcan. I'd love to do that, but I'd also we need to do more, like more in almost any way you can think of, in terms of raising awareness of figuring out ways to support people who are in addiction and figuring out ways to intervene with youth before they're addicted. That's
Amen.
Another big thing we do not do a good enough job of in general in our society. There's way too many kids who live in situations that make it really easy to go down that path. And we need to figure out more ways to support them also. So I'm
Amen.
all in whatever way. I think we should support this any way we can. And in ways that I'm not even clear about yet, but lots of ways.
Well, I'd like to see, in addition to the fire department, having some training and being engaged in this. I think that having it be a voluntary thing. I mean, we, with our town staff, train for a lot of things, but fire extinguisher use is something that's optional. If someone's not comfortable using a fire extinguisher, not the best analogy, but they're not required to do so. But I do think that it would be great. Because town staff have come across people multiple times unresponsive in vehicles. And if they feel comfortable, I'd like them to be able to have the opportunity to be trained to use Narcan. So what I'd like to see would be at least one training, if not two, in the community where members of the community, town staff, town volunteer firefighters are welcome to come and learn how to use this stuff. And I would like to see some available at the town office and at the fire station.
That's
At
the
a
other key
minimum.
piece, yeah.
And I think that's a good place to start.
Sean?
Yeah, so last year, this is probably not a you question, Chip, but I appreciate you supporting Lori through that. Under last year's legislation, wasn't there an option for municipalities to have a box that was funded and monitored and provided for access to Narcan in the communities?
No lost boxes, so me.
She's a quick learner.
The tier, I'm a tier 2 provider of Narcan, so I am trained to train and distribute, but there's a tier 1 above me in this area. It is Maine General. So they do larger trainings for distribution and they will connect you with nalox boxes. There's also, and I don't know the specifics about the funding connected to that, but I do work very closely with an organization that's out of state that provides free of charge harm reduction services and supplies to anybody who has interest in making sure they get to the community. And that includes things like the nalox boxes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think then under Chip's other hat, that maybe he can look into the nalox boxes too for making sure we have those. And I think like the library or and the fire station would be good places for those to be accessible.
Chip,
Point might be made that we do have emergency responder boxes that are made. I think we have them located at the fire station, the schools, and at Kent's Hill. And so I think that's a good start that way. Again, you got to look for something that's 24/7. Town hall closes at 5 or 6. The fire station is not manned 24/7. It's manned when there's an emergency. So I don't know how good that one would be. But if we have a Knox box, maybe. But I think that you should look at a place that is inhabited and available 24/7 if needed.
There are vending machines too.
Jeez.
There are vending machines all over the country that popped up that distribute green Narcan. So it's not something that maybe a smaller municipality could quit. I didn't learn that fast. There are vending machines. Did you guys get the rest or should I
Yes.
say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comment, Sean, and I'll make sure we can look at that option for 24/7 availability.
so at some point in the lead up to this conversation, that this did not take place in this room. It was brought to my attention that this could be a sensitive subject for members of the community. In the sense that there could be people who are very supportive and people who are not supportive. I find it hard to understand how you would not be supportive of this, but I think trying to keep in mind that people do have varying opinions on things. I guess part of that is some folks might interpret that to mean, well, so if you provide naloxone readily, then addicts can just use their drug freely and know that someone's going to come and save them. I think that's kind of far-fetched, but I think it would be great for us to have the conversation also. I don't know if it would be Chip or Eric with the school nurses, both at Kent's Hill and at Maranacook. Kent's Hill does have nurses on staff 24/7 for their population. I'm sure that they could be a resource for someone who's in a crisis. If that was something that we discussed with them, if that might be a piece of community involvement that they would be willing to take on, not to become a counselor, but just as an available resource if someone needed it at 2 a.m. and Winthrop ambulance isn't getting there fast enough. I fully support putting the program up in a public way in our public spaces. We would have to ask the school about that. That would probably be you talking with the superintendent. I think they may already have things like this as posters in their health offices, for instance, but we don't know unless we ask. And I love the idea of putting up the box. So that's a great idea. And I think we should definitely be trained. I don't know how good it would be to train the select board because we're not, I mean, if we want to come and be trained, yes, but we're so infrequently together in any capacity that we would be helpful as a group per se. But I think offering it to the wider community and definitely for the fire department and town employees, as you said, you know, they're out doing road work and you come across the car parked on the side of the road with the passed out person. what does the rest of the board think?
Well, I think it's a different fit for us as it may be some other towns. So I think, yeah, I agree with that, that as far as the fire department goes, would be best if it was an optional thing for them, not to force them to do it. Or maybe even make it known that, I mean, anybody in the community can get certified, correct? To administer. I don't know if a lot of people know that, so maybe starting with the educational part, and getting the word out there would be a place to start at, and the 24-hour boxes might
I
be. a
mean,
good
people
idea.
who go buy it at the drugstore, they're not getting trained in how to use it, right?
No.
If you go and buy it at a pharmacy, there are very explicit directions on the box. They actually had to change the packaging to make it over the counter, so it is step by step. It's available on the outside of the box, but it is almost an infallible system, the nasal delivery Narcan. It is peel, place, press. You are all trained. That's it. So you don't get trained buying over the counter, but having it is better than not having it.
And of course, holding the trainings allows people to have a greater awareness and have a conversation and talk with other people, which builds that community support, which hopefully lets people know to call somebody for help, because alive is better. So we probably need a motion that states our support for Eric moving forward with putting into place the suggestions we've made.
I'll make a motion to support Eric and moving forward with the suggestions of this evening.
Second.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor? It is unanimous.
Thank you all for coming.
Yep.
Really
Yes, thank you so much. And certainly, let's see what we can do to build a bigger rapport with the Kennebec County Sheriff and with Winthrop EMS. So that we're supported on lots of different levels here in Readfield.
And you don't have to stay.
And you don't have to stay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tavis, do you want to say anything?
I don't, I'm certainly willing to answer any questions that you might have, but I think the discussion was spot on.
Okay.
And I look forward to just kind of seeing how things progress.
Okay.
And I'll be
Great.
back if someone to chat more.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Sounds good.
Lee, did you have another thing you're here for?
Wow, you had quite the night.
I'm just gonna hang out.
You just can't get up. You've been
We're
here for so
having
long,
fun
you gotta take a
tonight.
nap,
All
right?
right. So back to our actual agenda, which will be shortened because we've already done a lot of things. We'll start with the select board meeting minutes of September 12th. That is item 25-015. I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Abstaining due to absence. That was me. They are approved. We have warrants 7 through 12. These
I
are
got 'em.
under item 25-016. Sean's almost done with his quarter of
Shocking.
reviewing.
I'm absolutely shocked by
Time flies.
Who's next?
Who's next quarter?
Who's next? Jaren?
it. Jared.
Jaren? Okay.
Okay, so warrants 7 and 8 to the sum of $111,612.54. We had our payment to dispatch for $12,335.75. We did our Heritage Days pyrotechnics for $4,500, which was amazing.
Oh, nice.
We paid David Ledoux for $2,000. Also, we had our Deer Go assessing for $2,500. We did $4,652 for fire department equipment, which was for new gear, I believe, that we also mentioned earlier today. We had $175 for water testing. I'm sure we're all aware of what that was for. And $8,936 in employee health payments for their,
What was the fire department one?
it was for the,
I know, but which vendor? Oh, fire
Fire
tech,
tech.
5,907. Okay, got it.
those were the items of note on warrant 7 and 8 that we signed a while ago.
Motion.
Do we need
I'll make a motion to approve warrants 7 and 8. for the amount of $111,000, $612.54.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Moving on to the next set.
Warrants 9 and 10 for the sum of $63,343.84. We had our MMA payment for $13,118.50. We had two large motor vehicle payments to the state, $5,770.28, $5,330.40. And we also paid Horn Construction for some ditching work of $5,000. Those are the items of note.
Just a comment on the fees to the state. So we do collect motor vehicle revenues. We keep most of it, but we do also return a bunch of that to the state. So when we have a really good month like we had in July, they get some good checks from us. So
That's good for us too.
Twice.
yep, good for us too. Yep.
I would entertain a motion.
Go, Dave.
Make a motion to approve warrant 11 and 12.
Nope,
No.
9 and 10.
What,
9 and 10.
the wrong number.
You can do that in a
I
minute.
wondered how we went to that. Oh, I flipped by it. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve warrants 9 and 10 for the amount of $63,343.84.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous.
Warrants 11 and 12, they came to the sum of $570,858.96. A big chunk is RSU 38 payment, $363,099.85. We had a payment to Cushing for $1,390 for work that he did on, it's not clear on my notes. What was that for again, Eric?
There was someone
It was a culvert. It's probably
Culvert, yeah.
Yeah.
We paid Eco Maine $2,676. Bobcat had some service done. That was $1,630. Some of our audit work, which is well underway, for $6,200. We had our Torsi Pond group for $1,200. We had a bunch of bond payments for the year come out. So we have a Marana Cook Dam bond for $17,128, road bond $27,542. Fire truck bond payment for $41,484, and the fire station library bond for $40,959. And last item to note was our waste management totaled $15,636 on that warrant section.
You're amazing.
Oh, thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve warrants 11 and 12, the amount of $570,858.96.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by the same people. How nice for the secretary.
You got a system.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous.
When you got a process, don't mess with it.
That's right.
Speeds it up.
Alrighty, so now we are moving on, if anyone can keep up with Sean. Select Board Communications, members of the board may present general information, and Eric and Sean, we need to also include an update in our future agendas for any progress we're making on our goals. So if anybody has any of those, you could do that at this point in time also.
Okay.
I have one. So I know that some of you may be aware that we're working on fundraising for the Fairgrounds Community Park work. So I am working with the Weather Vane on October 20th. This is a family event. It's called Kidioki. So this will be a dancing child singing extravaganza downstairs at the Weather Vane. I'll be your host for said events. The
Well,
weather,
we may come just to see you.
you'll have a great time, I
Yeah.
promise. The Weather Vane is donating 20% of food purchases downstairs that between the hours of 3 to 6 to the project. We will have some 50-50 raffles and other good stuff for the kids to get engaged and have their parents spend some money. So please join us on October 20th.
Love the title.
So is there a fundraising component to it besides the Weather Vane donating?
Yeah, there's 50-50, there's raffles, there's some other things that I haven't figured out the details of.
Okay, so there's not like an entrance fee, or if we come to watch you, do we have to pay to get in?
You should. But
Well,
I don't want to charge kids to come and have fun yet.
but you
so.
could have
But
a
there will be some other
donation box.
pieces, yeah, along the way, that I haven't fine tuned.
If we harass you at one level, it's one charge, at another
I
level,
hope-
it's another charge.
Yeah, there's heckling fees.
Heckling fees, I'm liking this.
But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's something I did a long time ago, so
Nice.
that's my announcement.
Any other members? Okay, staff communication, Eric, the staff communicate, 10 minutes?
We're going way back. with that.
Oh, yeah, town manager report.
Yeah, town manager. Well, I'll try to move through quickly and I'll go into the treasurer's
okay.
report after that. But so I just, we haven't had an update really, other than the Friday updates to the select board for over a month. So I'm gonna try to just pick and choose some of these that I think are the most important. I will say the managers conference in August was really good. I really do appreciate the opportunity to do that. And you know, it's good to make some connections, bring some ideas back, and hopefully enhance the work that the select board's doing. The sidewalk project is currently on track. The fairgrounds project, as Sean mentioned, is also on track. And we received some exceptional news that we, it's all but certain we'll be getting that $500,000 from Land and Water Conservation Fund. I got a call on Friday night about 4:30, and they said, "Hey, it's coming." So we'll be getting a letter from them. It'll go to the federal government for them to basically stamp and then get back to us. So their allocation is funded, and we shouldn't have any issue there. So that's really exciting. And the other fundraising efforts can now kick into high gear with that in hand. And people doing a lot of good work to engage with the National Guard, engage with fundraising. And now that we have a community programming coordinator person in-house, we'll be able to further that even more. And that is another important announcement. We hired Jennifer Worthing to be our community programming coordinator. She has yet to get a town phone, but she will have a town cell phone. We will get her a line at the library, and we'll be announcing her office hours shortly once we get those figured out. Her email address, which is pretty easy to remember, is programming@readfieldmaine.org. So the same suffix as all the rest of us, but the programming is the key piece there. Catherine and I did some engagement efforts with Kents Hill School. I thought it was a very productive meeting. I also reached out to the press. They have a new reporter at the KJ. So trying to build our community and make sure we have good connections in the community has been a part of the last month's activities. We're working with Kennebec County to try to make sure we have our plan, our emergency response plan is up to date. I've been talking with Lee about that. It ties in with work that Age Friendly is doing. We do want to bring back our CERT team, the Community Emergency Response Team, and also try to be more prepared when it comes to less than 24 hours, or I guess between 24 and 36 hours is going to be a key time because the Red Cross isn't available the way they used to be. And our EOP basically says for anything less than 3 days, call the Red Cross. But that's actually not really accurate anymore. They have limited capacity. So we need to be more prepared than we are currently to deal with sheltering needs. So that's something we're going to have to look at when we update our EOP this winter. We are working on a number of projects in town. We have road work, striping is going to be happening in the fall, but before that, we have crack sealing, which is slated for this week. We also have work for painting the library slated for the end of this week. That's one of two RFPs that we need to basically look back at later in the meeting tonight. They came in and it was July and it was busy and they just got set aside. So thankfully they're quite obvious, I think, where those belong. But let's see. The Ford truck is up for sale on Gov. It'll be on Gov Deals, I believe, is the site we're going through. We did try a local bid process, but we got one bid. It was late and it was for $21,000, which doesn't even cost. That was just not. It was not viable. They wanted to get it for cheap and resell it and make 20 grand, and we'd rather make that 20 grand, so we're not going to do that. Let's see. Fairgrounds Working Group had a good meeting. We're ready to transition this from a consensus-based team effort to a bit more of an administrative function where I will be leading the project essentially to get this built over the next 18 months. So that's going to be an exciting transition, and now we've got some money on the way, so that'll be even better. And then let's see, process improvement. We've been working to improve things with the planning board as far as how documents are managed. Angelica's been a big part of that, and we're making good progress there. And then we've dealt with a number of personnel matters, essentially just trying to streamline how things work there and putting in schedules for our part-time staff so that we can stay on budget and make sure we get the work done that we need to get done. So you'll notice it's been a bit of a transition. I've been able to focus more on personnel over the past month, and it's been helpful. There's always gap filling, but it is nice to be able to return to some of that work because it is so important in paying dividends later on if you can deal with those issues up front and be more supportive of the staff, which is where I'm trying to head with that. And Jaron has been working with me on Google Workspace and other technology type items, and I want to thank him again for r.gov. So big public announcement, Readfield.org, readfieldmaine.org is now also readfieldmaine.gov, and we will be switching over to that as the primary domain. We will be hosting both domains through a service provider, but it's important. Anybody that wants to should be looking to readfieldmaine.gov going forward. Because it's more official and has more protection and all of those things that we want as we approach election season.
So will we be phasing out the .org?
Yeah, we've already started pulling it off of letterhead, and we will. I've been talking to staff, and we'll be making sure we advertise it. But really, anybody that goes to .org will be redirected to .gov, and it'll slowly get migrated away. I expect it'll be about a year.
Okay.
And that's my manager's report, abridged.
Any questions, comments? Thank you for putting that all together. I find the Friday updates really useful.
Even on Wednesdays.
Even if they're on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and it was, I appreciate having the time off. I didn't get my porch all the way done. I got about half of it done, but hey, it was a good start. So
That's right.
Well, there are more days to come.
there are good weather coming up. I'm moving on to treasurer's report. We'll be going through the month of August. We did have everything looking pretty good, except for a couple of bounce checks. And these are checks that were written to the town, not written by the town. We don't do that. But we will be working on getting those reconciled. I think one was definitely related to a tax payment. And when we have a lot of tax payments in, sometimes people don't always know where money's coming from or where it's going. So it's not unusual to have those, excuse me, this time of year. Our audit's moving along very well. I'll say again, I'm really pleased with RHR Smith and the new gentleman they've assigned to us to help manage our internal affairs has been fantastic. He's been really well, coming along really well with his relationship with Teresa, and that's important. So I just want to say my appreciation to them for having staff that are not only knowledgeable in the actual accounting, but able to communicate well with municipal staff, which is really important. And that'll flow down when they present to the select board and to the public as well. So that's a very positive thing. August overall, nothing too unusual. We should be about 17% expended and have about 17% of our revenues coming in. Of course, departments like recreation and there's a couple others that community services, we are ahead of schedule, but that's because we have summer activities that are heavy. Same thing with the transfer station, have heavy usage there outside of outside of winter time. We had, one thing I wanted to point out, we did have a very good month in July with motor vehicles. August turned out to be the opposite. We actually had a 12% decline relative to last August. And that could be related as much to last August as it was to where we are this year, but in net, we're still up 7%. So we had a very good year to date, and that I expect will continue because people do seem to be fairly confident about the economy. And one of the first places that always shows up is in motor vehicle sales, leases, things like that. So overall, I don't see anything that's really extraordinary. And I think we're in a good spot. No debt payments reported in August, but those will be showing up when we get our September warrant, so, or our September treasurer's report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great job.
All right.
No questions.
Hopefully close to
Even
10
better
minutes.
job. Thank you. Board and committee minutes were sent to us from the Board of Assessors. Thank you, Eric, for that. The Cemetery Committee for July, the Conservation Commission for February, March, April, June, and July. So it's nice to have those in hand, and the Planning Board from August. So thank you all for keeping people up to date. Our next item of business is,
Public communication.
we already did the age-friendly grant application. Lee, would you like to address the board? Is there anyone online who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on. We've already made our appointment, so we have a resignation from Jennifer Worthing. She has a conflict of interest now that she is an employee, so is resigning from the rec board. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Jeff Worthing from the Recreation Board and thank her for taking on her new role.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Next item of business is the General Assistance Ordinance and Appendices hearing. So this comes before the board every year. And there are 128 pages, which were not included in the packet, but they are attached separately. And we are required to hold a public hearing. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes, yep. And so the hearing is for changes to the ordinance and the appendices. And I'll just make a note that the changes that were implemented were vastly just to keep pace with state law. They've been very active at modifying how the general assistance services are provided, dealing with issues, everything from migrants and providing services in service center communities, down to how much reimbursement towns get, how they get it, things like that. So lots of little changes there, but almost all relating to state law.
Make a motion to enter in public hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to hold a public hearing. All those in favor? It's unanimous. So it is 7:42, and I will open a public hearing for those parties in attendance, either online or in the room, to make any comments about modifications to the general assistance ordinance. Are there any comments online? Are there any comments in the room? Seeing no comments, I will close this public hearing at 7:43. So we need to accept the general assistance maximums, and is that how we word that, Eric?
Yeah, so
The
I would,
appendices.
yeah, the ordinance and appendices, and I can pass along the sign sheet that's available for that. Following any board discussion, if you have anything there.
I'll just note that whatever we give out in general assistance in the town is under those very strict guidelines, and the state reimburses us 50% of that.
And that is increasing. I believe it's gonna be 75.
75%. So 75% of the far less than $5,000 that we give out every year will be reimbursed to the town, because no one seems to apply who can meet the stringent guidelines. So that's where we're at.
I'll make a motion to approve or to accept the general assistance ordinance and appendices.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous, and as it's passed around, we each need to sign that, I believe.
Yeah, so I'll start with Jen Worthing's, not Jen Worthing's, Ellen Turgeon's appointment that we can get there. Yeah.
Tavis, now that you're back in the room, did you have anything you wanted to address to the board? No?
No, I'm just here to listen.
Okay.
primarily. I'm happy to discuss anything that the board.
Okay, we've already gone past public communication, so I just wanted to offer that up for you. So we're now moving on to new business. We've already taken care of several different items. Sean tells me we are up to 25-022, set the quarterly meeting calendar and the fiscal year budget schedule. Those were both presented in the packet. And if I can get that far in. Sean, Eric, and I all went through the schedule together and tried to combine things where possible.
I will note
Thank
that Kristen Parks went through it as well and made one correction that we had one conflict with one of the RSU votes. They have like a school board vote, so we didn't want to have a budget committee meeting the same. Even though it wasn't a final vote, we didn't want to have any overlap with the RSU at all, given how important it is for us to be engaged with that. So there was a slight change there, but right now we've got a very solid, I believe, process that meets all of our needs. Is a little bit tight, but it's always tight. So I think it would be a good direction to head if the board feels the same.
So looking ahead, just to be sure that we're all on the same page, in October, we'll have one meeting on the 21st. We'll have two meetings in November on the 4th and 18th, one meeting in December on the 9th.
And a joint meeting.
And a joint meeting with the budget committee on the 18th, which is a Wednesday, which is a date all of those members can meet, and that will be for discussing the CIP.
Will you say again, November, Catherine? You said 4th and the 18th
Yeah,
of November? Oh, it's just not in there. Is it? Did we miss that?
are you on the calendar that
Oh,
is
that's,
this way?
Oh, I was looking down below at the,
yeah, the 18th is not listed below Eric
in the chronological list there.
Probably because we're not doing anything with budget
Yeah,
on
there's
that
nothing
one.
budget.
Oh, it's just
related.
budget stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm on the
I
we're
gotcha.
meeting together calendar.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, thank you. That's all me.
We're on the blue.
Yeah,
Remember
I'm going to the
Steve
picture
Hart's-
pages, all right?
Yes.
That's all me.
Sorry about-
I will say that we did reduce the number of meetings by at least two. So
Yes.
this is, I think, a very positive direction for us because it makes it easier for the board to do your jobs without being burned out in February
In March.
and March.
And April.
And so moving on to that, one meeting in January, two meetings in February, the 10th and 24th. In March, there are really just two meetings. The third meeting on the Wednesday is the RSU 38 joint meeting, where we get to go and listen and ask questions. April has two meetings along with a joint select budget committee meeting. Is that a public hearing night, Eric?
Which one? I'm sorry.
April 16th?
April 16th, that is the,
Yes.
the first public hearing.
Okay, and then in May, there are two other meetings. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the
Yeah,
next
so
one, the
the
7th and
April meeting,
28th.
April meeting is a draft. and May, the two meetings are the presentation of the final budget. Both one before and one after absentee ballots become available. So we can get people where they're at, because they usually pay attention about a week before whatever it is that's happening.
So we cut it down to just one meeting in May, since we would be having two public hearings, as we had talked about earlier in the year. And then June has two. One is held before elections, and then town meeting is on the 10th. So that's our proposed schedule, and the next page was the budget schedule. Does anyone have any comments, concerns? Of course, if you can't make a meeting, just let us know in advance so that you can be excused. I don't think we need a motion on that, correct, Eric?
Nope.
Okay, moving on to an application for a license for an incorporated civic organization. Kents Hill School is asking for a liquor license for an event on. Yep.
October 11th.
October 11th from 5 to 9. It looks like the application is complete. Unless we have anything to discuss, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license from Kents Hill School for October 11th, 2024 event.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
It's always helpful if you could note that you're suspending the public hearing as well.
Yes, we are suspending the public hearing because this is a annual recurring event, and we have had no indication from anybody that there have been any issues with this event at any time. I have a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Well, look at us, just keep going here. All right. We had two RFPs that came in and are scheduled to be performed, and we have never formally accepted them. The first one was the Readfield Community Library painting RFP. Our two bids were Frank D's painting for $14,500 and MTAB painting for $16,280. The pleasure of the board would be to award this to.
Frank D's.
We've done work with him before. He's reputable, right?
You had to make a motion to accept the bids.
And he's the lowest bid.
Yeah,
Yep.
Move forward for Frank D's painting.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous. The second one was for Plains Road drainage, ditching and culvert.
It sounded like you were saying Plains Old Danish. I'm like, what?
It's a new bakery opening. So there's ditching, culvert replacement, cleanouts, and design assisted plan section. Eric, what does that mean?
What that means is this was a project that we had started a few years back in response to the rains that we had that were really wreaking havoc on the roadway. And so we realized that we couldn't just put culverts back the way they were, or even just upsize them. We had to have a professional look at it to ensure that we were protecting the roadway and our investment the way that we should on behalf of the taxpayers. And so some areas were just obviously needing cleaning and to have culverts and ditches basic remediation. That didn't require technical assistance, but we focused our efforts on areas where we had recurring problems. We hired an engineer, and they provided some guidance and some basic plan detail on how we can improve water flow and water management. That was all put together and put into an RFP. John Cushing was the low bid. I've actually already authorized him to start the work. But again, because this got missed, I need authorization to do that. Also, so the accountants are happy as well, and they don't see things that aren't approved.
I make a motion to continue the process with John Cushing on our Plains Road drainage, Danish ditching and culvert.
second,
And I might add that that is at a cost of more than $64,000 cheaper than the next, or It's
Yeah.
$60,000 less than the next bid, so
Close.
that's next closest. I'll just be quiet. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I'm already voting.
Yeah, I was just saying, my hand up too.
And I realize I skipped an item because that was item, but we'll come back to it. That was item 25-025. So let's finish up with 25-026. We need to vote for the KV cog Executive Committee. And I believe we're going to just authorize Eric to vote for the town. Is that correct, Eric?
That sounds just fine by me.
And we should probably note that Eric is the candidate for the president of KV cog. Bravo.
Yeah, it'll actually be my second year, so.
Yes, you are currently president.
Yeah, it's a fun thing and they provide good services. And I'm happy to do it.
So I need a motion to authorize Eric to sign on the behalf of the town.
Make a motion to authorize Eric to sign on behalf of the town on the KV cog official ballot election himself to be president.
Second,
We've got the babble going, got the whole table here. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It is unanimous. Now we will go back to the one I skipped, which was 25-024, review the 23 comprehensive plan policies and strategies, which I think got attached today. Yes, Eric?
It did, yeah.
Separate, yeah.
It's a separate thing. I'm not.
It's really hard to read, it's so small.
Oh, right. Well, you can make it bigger. But so what I did, well, it's not in the first part. It's down in the,
It's in the attachments on the webpage.
all right. So anyway, when you get down a ways, you start getting into the area where there's peach. And that's where we were doing our progress. And so I went through and made notes.
Kills me.
And I put dates and then I updated the tally so that we know that we're actually doing something. And you can add to that if you'd like by letting me know and I will update it.
I really appreciate you do this for us.
But my memory doesn't remember everything, so.
And I really wish that I wasn't partly colorblind because I have no idea where the peach is. Okay,
Well, it
so-
does actually say, you know, like select board review or something, but I don't evidently have that part open right now. Sorry, I should not forget that. But
I
if
think you
make-
should forget it, I find it entertaining.
It's like, go to the
Radiance.
peach. I'm like, great.
Well, you'll see the part that says notes or comments, and there's a
Yeah.
whole column there, and it's like September 2024. Eric did X.
So you should just put in there, this is the peach part. Just spell it out.
Okay, I will go home and do
From
that
now on.
tonight.
Okay.
For all those FYI, this is the peach part. So anyway, the importance of doing this is so that people understand that we are actually looking at the things that affect us, or that we're responsible for, and that we're also expecting that the other groups in town that are so named in here, which are, I think there are like 11 different boards and committees and employees who are supposed to be going through this occasionally, that falls under Eric's responsibility. So we are only taking on the things that are for the select board and making note of them. And as we've discussed in the past, there are, I don't want to say what percentage, maybe 75% of these are things that are like a monitor status. And there's really nothing that we can do about them. You know, promoting agriculture. Well, we don't have many opportunities for that. And so there are many, many parts of this that are that way, but we just need to remain aware that they exist. And if something comes before us as a board, to remember that the comp plan is here as a guidance document. It's not, it's a reference, right? Okay. So is there anything else? Because I think we have now covered everything in the agenda. Eric, you all set with us?
I'm all set. I just want to thank you guys for being so good with a very full agenda. The board started at 5:30 today. So it's been a long, long day, a lot of activity. Thank you all for being prepared and engaged throughout the 2.5 hours of this meeting.
Does anyone want to make a final motion?
So moved. She usually says to adjourn. It's ready. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, we're all adjourned. Everybody in favor? It's unanimous.
I would like to look back at the minutes, see how many times I've said so moved.
Oh, that's all right.